Hey, welcome back, Coach Carl. Each week for the next 12 to 15 weeks, I'm going to be doing an excerpt video on my book that's launched on Amazon. It's called Setback Now Forward. It's a business book, an entrepreneur book, just for men who have experienced a failure, a loss, divorce, setback, or you're flat out just stuck in your life and business and you're not really sure where to start or what to do. And I can tell you, no matter where you are, there are patterns that led you down this path, and there's patterns that are keeping you stuck in that path as well. And I know this firsthand because I've experienced all of these at least twice in my life, whether it was a business failure and having to resurrect myself and the business, or my family, or recovering from a divorce. And I can tell you, it's absolutely doable and can change. It absolutely can change. You can come back from anything as long as you're willing to do a couple of things. And the very first chapter in this book is called Just Say It, because radical honesty changed everything for me. And the willingness to just speak the truth about what happened is 50% of the transformation that's required. Just yesterday, an old high school friend emailed me and was telling me he's stuck in business, wants to become a better man, wants to be a leader, but he's got some anger and communication things going on. He's just not feeling he's moving forward. And that inspired me to do these videos faster. But here's what I want you to get. When I went through my first divorce and breakup, and I went back and I started to learn about those patterns and what happened, I realized that that was the only way to shatter those from ever happening again. Because when a man gets hurt, when masculinity gets damaged, we start to live in avoidance. We start to put it into a little box, close it, throw it on the other side or way in the back of our mind and hope nobody sees it or finds it again. And what happens is it actually dictates our future. We keep repeating that pattern. And what I want you to get out of this video is that something confronted you. You may not know what it is, but once you do, once you just speak that truth, it will change. For me, I can tell you that what led to my divorce was a few simple things. Number one, if I had just followed my intuition, I never would have gotten married. If I had trusted my intuition, I would never have continued dating her. Not because of her, just because something in me just didn't feel right. But what was underneath that was my inability, my unwillingness or fear, the lack of courage to deal with my own loneliness. So as you know, hey, I can be with this or I can be lonely. I'd rather have this because the sex is better than loneliness, right? Because that's how guys think. But if I really had the integrity and the guts to trust and listen to it so deeply, I never would have even gone out on that first date. But that's what happens when masculinity tries to push the envelope and the achiever guys try to take it too far to really get what you want, is that you end up selling out on yourselves. And some way, shape, or form, you have a pattern. It's not necessarily just like mine, but from what happened to the feelings to the patterns, that process is exactly the same. But what I can tell you, in the first chapter, we deal with what got you confronted and how, without even knowing it, you set your own setback, failure, loss, divorce, or stuckness. It was already predetermined and you didn't even see it happening, and now you're not really sure what to do with it. So in a moment, I'm going to go to the board and we're going to decode this, break it down, and show you some steps you can do immediately. All right, welcome back. So earlier I walked you through what happened to me during my divorce, my loss, my setback. And I want to show you sort of the beginning of a pattern. In the book, over 14, 15 chapters, shows you everything. But somewhere along the way, you started, like all men do, we start out with this vision, right? And then we start to chart our course. And for some of us, we start to have some level of success, some excitement. We can see the possibility of things working out. But somewhere along the line, something happens. Some event, some person, someone does something that confronts us. And we lose our masculinity. And what I mean by confrontation, I mean something stops you. And when men get confronted by something, we do one of two things. We fight back because we don't want to lose. We don't want to fail or disappoint anybody, because that's how we were raised. We're raised to be good little doers. Don't disappoint. Don't live in regret. Don't fail, because there's huge consequences when a man fails. And then the other guy, he will become so deactivated, he'll become numb. And it's all because growing up, people really never took into account that men have feelings, or talk to us about our feelings if they even mattered. And so now you've got all these feelings that you've trapped inside of you because you're confronted by it. You're confronted by feelings you haven't felt before. Maybe you don't know what happened. You're not sure why. So you can either fight against it or put it into a little box, pretend it's not there, put it aside and not really deal with it. Either way, you can't mount a comeback or move forward. I'll tell you in other videos, I call it the half-man theory. When we hide stuff because we're unwilling to speak the truth, then we have to repeat that pattern over and over and over again. We'll find a different woman because we think that's the answer, and we'll run into the same shit there. We might find a different business, and we run into very similar patterns there. Or we stop it all together and completely swing the pendulum and try something completely different, like let's go into real estate or loans. And that kind of doesn't work either, but at least we're happier and we don't have to deal with the shit. But by not dealing, by saying no to what confronted you, by saying no to I don't want to feel this or deal with it, you're also saying yes to living with it, and you're saying no to speaking the truth. And the new masculinity can't live without speaking its truth. And it's not so much that the truth will set you free, it's that the truth will create anything and everything you've ever wanted, and you won't live in regret or disappointment. So when we get confronted, remember there's two things that happen. We either want to fight against it or we want to hide against it. And either way, that's going to keep you in this stuck cycle. And in a moment, I'm going to show you the pattern of, well, what do we do with this? Because all that really needs to happen right now is you just got to feel it and you got to speak into it. Like, what's the fucking truth? And once you get there and have the courage and the understanding and the willingness to do that, 50% of the transformation already starts to happen. And I can tell you, it's not that big of a deal. It happens to guys all the time. But speaking it is that first step. Because what you're unwilling to own will own you. And you're not going to like it when that happens. But if you're willing to own the shit, then what you're saying to yourself is, I'm totally willing to own the life that I want. The two go together. So if you're willing to own that part of you that got confronted, that you don't like or you're uncomfortable with, then you're saying yes to making a comeback. You're saying yes to having your life a different way. You're saying yes to new love, to new money, to new relationships, to a new body. The two go together. All right, so that's what I talk about in chapter 1. Just say it. The book is called Setback Now Forward. Stay with us because we're going to go through every chapter just like this, short synopsis videos, so you get a better understanding of what's possible for you. I'll see you soon.